Hey there, welcome to the video. This is going to be a step-by-step guide on how to build your mining rig. Whether you're building it with 8 GPUs or 12, I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do it. And first off guys, this is technically a sponsored video. The maker of this has sent me one of these and a prototype for free and requested that I simply make a guide on how to put it together because he doesn't have the tools in which to do so. So this is the guide. It's just a simple printout, but has everything that you'll need to know. And technically, hopefully, eventually you will actually need this video in order to put together your second one, should you choose to make another. So the guide is really straightforward. It's got pictures to help you. And that section at the back there is a little addition that wasn't in there when I first had a go at building one of these. So that's the instructions. But what do you get in your box? Well, I'm going to show you that. But first, you'll need a screwdriver. You could use a power tool. And if you do, then be sure not to over-tighten the screws, but I'm just going to use a manual tool. This is what I'm calling the H. The H's obviously go at the side, and everything's color-coded, even these guys over here, which are the crossbeams. Again, all color-coded. You see here, red stickers, which you obviously can take off afterwards. And you can also repaint it, should you wish. Obviously, use a primer first, and then paint it whatever color you want, so you don't have to have it looking just like it's made out of wood. So we'll put those to one side, and I'll show you what else is in here. Now this you may or may not wish to use, which is just a simple power button, also obviously a restart button, and shows you that the system is on, and obviously if the hard drive is being accessed. This is the bag of screws. You'll have a bunch of long screws, and then a few bunch of short screws, which will obviously be for the graphics cards, and the famous little rubber grommets, which simply go on the bottom here where your motherboard will be, and they just act like risers basically, but not made of metal. He's also decided to add in, after my suggestion, some Velcro in order to hold your power supply in place a little bit better. Obviously you'll still be able to move a little bit, but not too much, and that's just going to go here or wherever you actually have your power supply. And all that's left to do now really is start putting the thing together. So again, it's all color-coded, so when you put this H together, it's blue on blue, and obviously flush with the back there. It's very difficult to go wrong, but just make sure that you're definitely following the color coding. So we've got one H all together there. And again, blue on blue, and then at this side, we're going to have the other H shape. And these are both exactly the same, by the way, guys. They're reversible. You don't have to put one in a particular side. Just obviously make sure that even though they're both the same, that you're still following that blue to blue. Right, so hopefully you've now got both sides put together and you haven't done yourself a mischief. So the next thing really on our list of things to do is, now we've got all this established and it's all nice and sturdy, again, don't over tighten the screws. You don't want to have an accident. So if we follow the guide as it goes on, the next thing to do now is the crossbeams. Not that side, this side. We have to do the crossbeams. Now again, these are all color-coded, so it's pretty tricky to go wrong at this point. But again, this is a guide, so follow along with me. So this is what we're going to hopefully end up with once we've got all the crossbeams in place. Now, compared to when I last did this, there has been a couple of really neat changes. So now, some of the crossbeams have no pre-drilled holes, and that's where your risers are going to sit. And now some of them have pre-drilled holes. And again, the red sticker, so you know exactly where to put them. But basically, you're going to have this one here for the base. So that's going to be a bottom one, no pre-drilled holes, because it's just going to be where the risers are going to sit. Now, the best thing to do is to pre-mount this, like just hold it here like this, and then just put the screws in loosely and then screw them together. It's definitely way easier. And then this one here with pre-drilled holes, as you can see, which wasn't a feature when I bought my first one off the chap. So now he's added pre-drilled holes, and all you have to do is flip them over, depending on how many graphics cards you're going to use on this rig. So no more screwing straight into the wood. We've got pre-drilled holes for 8 GPUs on this side, and then pre-drilled holes for GPUs, if you're using 4, on the other side. And that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to use all these holes to have 4 on the bottom deck, and then 4 on the top. So if you just put the screws in loosely like this, then you can screw it in without it falling out and being really awkward to do. And so, if you've been following the guide okay at this point, you should now have something that looks a bit like this, with the bottom beam in place, and then where the graphics cards will screw in on the first shelf at the top there. Now you want to make sure that the pre-drilled holes are facing towards you, not away from you. So, just to reiterate that point, you always want the cross beams with the pre-drilled holes to be closest towards you, because your graphics cards don't have a massive reach to where they're going to screw into, so you always want to make sure that they're facing this way towards you at all times. So at this point, guys, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. So now we're on the top stage of the rig. So we've already got the bottom crossbeam in place, the one with no pre-drilled holes, and the only thing we need to do now is add the final crossbeam, which is this one. Again, color-coded, and if you're doing 8 GPUs on the top, you want to switch it to this side, or switch it to this side if you want 4 GPUs, which is probably what I'm going to do with this rig when I get around to building it. So it's going to go this way around, again, all the holes facing towards you at the front of the rig, and then simply screw it into place. So not that way around, not that way around. Make sure it's always this way around, again, facing towards the front of the rig, and you'll have no problems. So here we are, guys. That is the top crossbeam in place, the one which the GPUs will mount to. The holes are there. You can't quite see it even in 4K, but this is the full frame. If we zoom out a little bit, there we go. This is the full frame. That is basically all there is to it. The main part of building the frame, the thing to move on to now, the most complicated bit, I would say, is where the motherboard is going to go. Now, why do I reckon this is the most complicated section of the video? Well, this part of the guide is going to depend entirely on your choice of motherboards, because not all motherboards are created equal. Some of their screws are going to be in different places, especially if it's a different design of motherboard, but this design does support all 3 motherboard types. So again, this section is going to depend completely on your particular choice of motherboard, but all the pre-drilled holes are there for all 3 different designs. And the only thing really to know is to use these little rubber grommets as risers. So you will screw through these and then into the hole, and then of course don't over tighten it because you don't want to break your motherboard. So work out which holes are for your motherboard by you just lay it on the top and then work out which holes are going to be used and which ones aren't, and then simply put them over all the holes that you're going to be using, and then screw these shorter ones, they'll be the only ones left, and then they simply screw straight down through the rubber. So once you've worked out which holes you're using, get your little rubber riser, put them in place. They're sticky, so they'll stay in the same place, so you don't have to worry about them rolling off the side. And then I would suggest making a pilot hole by screwing a screw straight through the rubber and into the hole, or if you are using a power tool, then to drill a pilot hole through the rubber and into the same hole carefully, just to make it a little bit easier when it comes to mounting the motherboard on top. Okay guys, we're practically at the end of our building journey. The only thing left to mention is these nifty little Velcro strips, which are a new addition to the build. I didn't have these when it came to making the first one, but it's just to secure your PSU in place, so you should probably put one here sideways like that, and then some across the bottom, just to keep the PSU a little bit more stable than having it freestanding. So there's 4 of these strips in a pack, so I would suggest putting one sideways like this to mount it stuck to the side wall of the frame, and then put a few along the bottom like this. I mean, you might decide just to put all of them along the bottom like this, but I would definitely suggest having at least one on the side like this, just to secure it in place. And so guys, the video concludes. At this point, you should have your rig up and running like this. Well, not running, but obviously built and ready to go with your motherboard on the bottom. And then, of course, depending on how many GPUs, you'll have either 4 holes at the bottom here for 4 GPUs on the bottom, and then 4 on the top, or 8 at the bottom and 8 on the top, depending on your particular choice of how you're building your build. So guys, if you found the video useful, this little guide, then please do consider subscribing, dropping a like, and check out some of my other videos on cryptocurrency and or gaming. And just so you can see what this frame looks like when it's got GPUs mounted to it, I will now fade out to my particular build. And here she is. There is 1 GPU missing at the moment because I ended up with a bad card and that got RMA'd, and so they're sending me a new one. But hopefully I'm going to have 4 GPUs along the top like this, and then along the bottom another 4 GPUs once I buy the final one. And as you can see, the risers just sit on the shelves like that, the ones that don't have the pre-drilled holes, and then the power supply unit sits there, and then once I tidy the cables, it will look a lot neater. So guys, again, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, or hope it helped you get your rig up and running. Again, drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time.